Hi there, and welcome to Lost in Literature. Today, I intend to do Mark Antony's speech, and this is a rather remarkable speech, and it's famous as one of the great pieces of oration in literature. And honestly, I feel a little daunted at the task of analyzing it, but anyway, here goes. So, Antony steps onto the pulpit and he has come bearing Caesar's body, which he lays, um, beside him and starts off his speech. Even the beginning of his speech is totally different from that of Brutus. He says, friends, Romans, countrymen. First of all, they are friends. And thus he establishes a very personal kind of rapport with the crowd. And then only Romans and countrymen. Lend me your ears. Um, why is he asking the Roman public to listen to him? Because you know that after Brutus got off the pulpit, there was a commotion. A whole lot of citizens reacted to him, and there was a lot of discussion, and these people were exchanging all kinds of views right on the speech. And so Antony had to ask for attention, all right? And then he goes on, I come to bury Caesar. Look, I have only come to bury Caesar and not for anything else. I'm not going to convince you or tell you anything about, whatever has taken place, nothing adverse. And I'm not going to say anything against Brutus. I have only come to bury Caesar, all right? As per the Roman tradition, and not to praise him. I'm not going to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. Now, he makes this general remark that very often the good that people do is just buried, with them when they are dead. Nobody remembers it. But if they do something evil, it's human nature to remember it. So let it be with Caesar. So he says, let it be like that with Caesar, because he has done a lot of good, but you people have forgotten everything. The noble Brutus had told you Caesar was ambitious. So now he refers to Brutus's speech. He said, the noble Brutus, yeah, he's a very noble man. And he told you that Caesar was ambitious. And if it was so, you'll find a lot of if clauses. If it was so, it was a grievous fault. It was something that Caesar had to be sorry for. And grievously had Caesar answered it, because Caesar has been murdered on account of that, because he was called ambitious. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, so he says, here, uh, with the permission of Brutus and the rest of the conspirators, and an aside, for Brutus is an honorable man. He's a much respected citizen of Rome. So are they all the conspirators. They're all honorable men. And here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. I have been given permission to speak right now, right? For Caesar's, on the occasion of Caesar's funeral, and that's all I'm going to do. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. So that's how I look upon Caesar. He was definitely my friend. He was always loyal and he was always fair to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. So this is where I differ from Brutus, because Brutus says he was ambitious. Brutus is definitely an honorable man, and we have to take his word for it. He hath brought many captives home to Rome. Now, Caesar, as you know, was a military genius. So Brutus reminds them, the crowd, of that. So he says he has brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. So he has not only defeated, you know, um, armies, he has brought prisoners to Rome, and their countries had to pay ransom to free them. All right? Now he says, when Caesar so generously, um, you know, gave away all this to the public treasury, did it appear as if Caesar was ambitious? Was it ambition in Caesar? He could have easily, misappropriated the funds, but he didn't do that. It all went honestly into the public treasury. So, did that seem ambitious to you? Wasn't he committed enough to Rome? When the poor cried, Caesar has wept. And that is how Caesar has always reacted. He has always been sympathetic to the poor. And they only had to cry, but Caesar would weep for them. Come on, ambition has to be made of sterner stuff. You can't have a ruler crying with the crowds. If he were truly ambitious, then he would have been made of solid, insensitive stuff, sterner stuff. Why would he feel with a crowd? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. So look at the way, again and again, he is telling us that Brutus is an honorable man, because he has made a promise to the conspirators that he will not speak ill of them. But he's not speaking ill, and yet we have begun to wonder at this repetition again and again. And Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal, during the festival of the Lupercal, I thrice presented him a kingly crown. Remember all those shouts from the crowd, and these people, Brutus and Cassius, caught hold of Casca, and they wanted Casca to account, to narrate what had happened, right? So Antony had offered him the crown 3 times, which he did thrice refuse. He pushed it aside. He refused. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. We cannot question that. He's a highly respectable, highly um, esteemed gentleman. So we cannot question his honor. Now, I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke. I'm not here to go against whatever Brutus told you. I'm only here to speak what I do know. I'm only going to speak what I know, right? Nothing more than that. I don't want to contradict anything that Brutus has said to you. You all did love him once, not without cause. Didn't you love him once? Isn't that why you all took leave and you all stood outside in the streets to greet him when he came back after his victory over Pompey? Right? You all did love him. And that wasn't without cause. You had good reason to love him. Now, what cause withholds you then? What draws you away then from mourning for Caesar? Why are you holding back your tears now? O judgment! Now he is really lamenting over the lack of judgment of the crowds. O judgment! Thou art fled to brutish beasts. Even the beasts, animals are capable of judging better. People have lost their power of judgment, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me, please. Put up with me, excuse me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. So you have him pausing at this point because he wants to see how the crowd has received his speech so far. Antony was a firm supporter of Caesar. He did not condone Caesar's assassination. And he is going to draw the crowd towards him and make them understand why Caesar ought not to have been murdered and why the so called noble men were not really noble. First citizen, methinks there is much reason in his sayings. Second citizen, if thou consider rightly of the matter, Caesar has had great wrong. Has he, masters? I fear there will a worse come in his place. I really feel that a dictator is going to take over. Caesar has definitely been wrong. You see how these people are already changing their mind. And this is what Antony is doing, playing on their emotions. A fourth citizen, marked ye his words, he would not take the crown. Therefore it is certain he was not ambitious. First citizen, if it be found so, some will dare abide by it. And if this is proved that he was not ambitious, some people are going to pay for it. Second citizen, poor soul, his eyes are red as fire with weeping. Now the reference here is to Antony. Third citizen, there is not a nobler man in Rome than Antony. Fourth citizen, mark him, he begins to speak. Antony, but yesterday the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. You would have heeded his words yesterday because you held him in such high esteem. You admired him. You respected him for bringing victory to Rome. Now lies he there. Now there he is, lying so low, and none so poor, none so humble to give him respect, to do him reverence. O masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong. This is such a smart move on Antony's place. But like he says now, if I were to put in the idea of mutiny and rage to fight for justice against Caesar's death, then I would be wronging these conspirators who gave me permission to speak to you. And as you know, they're all honorable men, Brutus and Cassius. No, I'll not do them wrong. So I'm not going to speak about mutiny. I'm not going to speak about rage, but he has already done it. The notion has been released in the minds of the people. I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you. He's including the crowd with him. All right? And with Caesar. Look at the way he's identifying himself with the crowd. rather than wrong such honorable men like Brutus and Cassius and the rest of the conspirators. But here is a parchment with the seal of Caesar. There you are. Now he's pulling out this document, and that is Caesar's will. I found it in his closet. It is his will. Let but the common people hear this testament, this will, which, pardon me, I have no intentions of reading it here. But if I read it here, they would go and kiss dead Caesar's wounds and dip their napkins in his sacred blood, yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying, mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue. I'm not going to read the will. I'm not going to tell you what Caesar has left for each common man. No way, I'm not going to tell you. Because if I tell you, you are going to be so aroused and you will end up falling on Caesar's body, kissing his wounds, because that's the noblest gesture that Caesar has made. He has bequeathed so much to you that you will even dip handkerchiefs in his sacred blood and beg for a hair of his to preserve and then pass it on to your children when you die, because his legacy is so rich. Fourth citizen, we'll hear the will. Read it, Mark Antony. The will, the will. We'll hear Caesar's will. Antony, have patience, gentle friends. I must not read it. It is not meet, it is not suitable that you know how much Caesar loved you. You're not wood, you know. You're not stones, but men. You're people who feel emotions. You're not insensitive like wood and stones. And being men with emotions, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you. It will arouse you. It will make you mad. It is good. You know not that you are his heirs. It's better for you not to know anything. For if you should, oh, what would come of it? There would be nothing but chaos, anarchy. Fourth citizen, read the will. We'll hear it, Antony. You shall read the will, Caesar's will. Yes, you will read it. It is ours by right. Antony, will you be patient? Will you stay a while? Be with me. I have overshot myself. To tell you about it, I should not have mentioned the will, but unfortunately I couldn't control myself and I have overshot myself. I have gone further than I intended. I fear I wronged the honorable men, Brutus and Cassius, whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I do fear it. Definitely, I have wronged these men. I had promised not to talk ill about them. Fourth citizen, they are traitors. Honorable men of citizens, the will, the testament, we'll have it. Second citizen, they were villains, murderers. The will, read the will. Antony, you will compel me then? You will force me then to read the will? All right, then make a ring around the corpse, around the body of Caesar, and let me show you him that made the will. Shall I descend? Shall I come down from my pulpit? Will you give me permission for that? This was the cleverest move he made. Getting off the pulpit, moving to Caesar's body, and being surrounded by the citizens. And that is how he would be literally well protected from the conspirators. because the conspirators were definitely around keeping an eye, and they would have attacked him. But what did Antony do? He invited himself down amidst the crowd of citizens. Descend, said the citizen, second citizen. You shall have leave. You have permission to come down. Fourth citizen, a ring, stand around. First citizen, stand from the hearse, away from the body. Stand from the body. Second citizen, room for Antony, most noble Antony. Nay, press not upon me. Don't press on me. Stand far off, give me some space. Stand back, room, stand back. Antony, if you have tears, prepare to shed them now. Now is the time to cry. You all do know this mantle, this cloak that Caesar wore. He is literally showing them the body. He's going to whip away that cloak and literally show them the number of stab marks. Amazing. And that's going to totally win over the crowd on Caesar's side. I remember the first time ever when Caesar put this cloak on. It was on a summer's evening in his tent. That day he overcame the Nervi when he had defeated the Nervi. Look, in this place ran Cassius's dagger through. Look at the rent the envious Casca made. Look at the way Casca has plunged his knife through this cloak. Through this, the well-beloved Brutus stabbed, and as he plucked his cursed steel dagger away, note how the blood of Caesar followed it, because you can see the stain on the cloak. As rushing out of doors, as if the blood was rushing out to make sure that it was Brutus who had so unkindly, unexpectedly stabbed Caesar. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O you gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all, Brutus's stab wound. For when the noble Caesar saw him stab, ingratitude, more strong than traitors' arms, ingratitude, lack of gratitude, lack of loyalty, much more than traitors' arms, even a traitor won't be so unkind. But this vanquished him, defeated him altogether, and then burst his mighty heart. And in his mantle, muffling his face, even at the base of Pompey's statue, after having defeated him, which all the while ran blood, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen. It was a terrible fall. Then I and you and all of us fell down because it was the fall of democracy, right? And bloody treason flourished over us. Treason, right? Oh, now you weep. They are beginning to cry. And I perceive you feel the dint of pity. Finally, you're feeling a little bit of pity. He's being a little sarcastic here. These are gracious drops. Kind souls, what? Weep you when you but behold a Caesar's vesture wounded? Oh my God, you're weeping just seeing the cloak he wore wounded, right? Stained with blood. Look you here. Here he is in himself, marred as you see. with traitors. He's completely mangled, mutilated, and I guess he pulls away the cloak. Oh, piteous spectacle! Now they can actually see the dead Caesar. O woeful day, O traitors, villains, O most bloody sight! We will be revenged. Revenge about, seek, burn, fire, kill, slay. Let not a traitor live. I'll stop here and look at the kind of reaction Antony has been able to draw from the crowds. This was because he appealed to their heart. The entire speech is in the form of poetry. And poetry, as you know, arouses emotions in people, right? Keep this in mind. And I think this is one of the most beautiful orations in literature, and it deserves appreciation. So, before I go to the next part of this speech, I would ask you to listen carefully, and it's time for me to sign off. And if you like my channel, please, please do subscribe for me and hit a like. I would love that. Bye for now.